I promise. And what I'd like to do now is I'd like to bring up our featured speaker for the morning, Jan Wallen. Jan has been a friend and a valued friend, as well as being a master on perhaps the most effective business social media outpost in the world, which is LinkedIn. She has indeed written the book. Jan was with us before about 2 years ago.
Yes.
And the session was very valuable. So I've asked Jan to come back and actually introduce a series of sessions based on her skill sets in helping all of us develop our social media strategies on LinkedIn. So Jan, come on down.
Hello, thank you so much, Les.
Oh, just give me a minute. I'll get this thing queued. Here, you're going to use the microphone?
No.
Yeah, I think. Where did I put your presentation?
Do you have the pointer? Yes. Okay.
From the beginning.
Great. And do you have the... Oh, yeah, it's right there.
Pointers here. Everything you need.
Okay.
Camera.
Right. Okay, lights, camera, action. I'm Jan Wallen, and I wrote the book on LinkedIn literally. I'm the author of Mastering LinkedIn in 7 Days or Less. My career before that was in sales and sales management for Fortune 500 and Big Four firms. PricewaterhouseCoopers brought me in to start and manage a national selling skills program for their partners. And the partners are not salespeople. They are experts in their area, like benefits and accounting and risk management. And at the same time, if you're a partner, or certainly if you're on the partner track, you have to be bringing in clients all the time. So this was a selling skills program. It was very successful. We increased the revenue and the size and scope of the engagements by as much as 25%. So after that, I started a selling skills consulting business, and all this was before LinkedIn. When I first went to LinkedIn, I did it because someone invited me to connect. And I connected because I knew them. And I looked around, didn't know what to do with it. So I didn't do anything, and I was busy. I did things the way I always did them. And then a few more people invited me, and a few more, and a few more. And every time I'd go and I'd look and I'd say, I couldn't figure out what to do with it. Then someone showed me the ropes. By that I mean not everything in the world about LinkedIn. He showed me exactly what I needed to know to grow my business. And that's all you need to know. You don't need to know everything about it. And what I found is a funny thing happens when you get the right resources and the right training. It works. So what I'm going to do today is show you a few things about LinkedIn, the most important highlights that you need to know. I do encourage you to ask questions as we're going along to make it interactive. And there may be some things that I mentioned that are appropriate for you right now and that seem like really good ideas. Well, jot them down and maybe put a star by them. I may mention some other things that sound good, but they're not something for you right now. Maybe make a note about those about later so that you can still go back and take a look. Sarah, if you'd pass out the handouts. There are some things on the handouts that I'll ask you to look at. So as I said, if you have questions, I encourage them. We are also going to have time for Q&A at the end. Okay. Don't know why this isn't working. Okay, so I told you a little bit about that. I will also be mentioning some articles. And you can go to this website that's at the bottom to get copies of the articles. There's only so much time and information we can cover today. LinkedIn and social media are game changers. They're really changing the way we do business. What's happening now with the internet and with LinkedIn too, people are going to the internet first to look for things. And they're also talking to their friends and getting recommendations, and that affects how they buy. In part, what that means is they're coming to a business when they've already done the research. They already have good ideas about what they're looking for. So our sales cycle isn't the same, and the way we approach them isn't the same as it used to be. Also, companies are going to LinkedIn looking for experts. Let's say they want to make changes in their whole business, their business model, perhaps also the IT, anything like that. They're looking for experts to work with. You find experts on LinkedIn and also Google. What's happening is, for example, let's say someone's they're acquiring a new business. They know that they're going to want some help with that in a number of different areas. They go to Google, and they also now go to LinkedIn to look up the experts. Well, if they go to Google, your LinkedIn profile shows up. So you definitely want to have a good profile. I'll be talking about what makes a good profile. It's got to tell your compelling story in a way that they understand. And also, because there's so much competition, you really must show why you're the best business or the best person to come to. It's not enough to just have a profile that describes in third person what the company does. You really have to be compelling about it and tell your story. People are looking to work with people who are people, and that's another thing that LinkedIn does. Your profile is a silent salesperson for you, or another sales and marketing piece, and like another website for you. What they're looking for is, who's the person I'm going to be working with? And I'll show you some things on your profile that help with that also. LinkedIn now has more than 160 million people connected worldwide, and that's in more than 200 countries and 150 plus industries. Another unusual thing is that the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies are on LinkedIn, and also it's been shown that 82% of them are decision makers. So when you're talking to someone on LinkedIn, it's going to be the person who can write the check. LinkedIn is also marvelous for doing some business research. I was in sales for many years before either Google or LinkedIn, and I still am, and I can't believe the difference. I used to have to spend hours and hours and hours looking for who's the right person in the company to talk to, who's the decision maker, who's responsible for this area. And many times it was a team of people. Now on LinkedIn, you can go there and see exactly who's in that position, and also every member of the team who's making a decision if your company products and services involve a team decision. Here's some of my favorite success stories. Yes, people really are making money and increasing their sales on LinkedIn. One of my favorites is a public radio account executive. She was calling a director of an organization to underwrite one of their programs. And she'd call and call and call and never got a return call back. Finally, she went to LinkedIn, looked up his profile, and found that they went to the same university. And this university had a nickname that only the people at the university would recognize. So she left him a voicemail that introduced herself again and said, "I see that we went to the same university." And she used the nickname University of the Frozen North. And "I'd like to talk to you." Well, sure enough, he called her right back. And now they're working together. So what this did in a very easy way was it gave her something to talk to him about that broke the ice, that was relevant. And when you're connected with someone, even if it's not a direct connection on LinkedIn, there was that connection because they went to the same university. We're all competing against time right now also. Everybody's too busy, we don't have time, and people don't want to take a phone call from someone they don't know. So if there's a connection like going to the same university, that's a starting point, and that's how that worked for her. What people are also doing, since I know there are people from internationally watching today, what some companies are doing is they're finding distributors. For example, a US company has found distributors in Asia and Russia for their products using LinkedIn, and it's worked the same way, vice versa. I know someone else who is based in Singapore, and she uses LinkedIn always to connect with people and also to keep her eye out for new projects there. And then it also means you can get more face-to-face meetings. A lot of companies won't hire you without meeting you first. And again, they want to know who the person is that they're going to be working with. So one of my colleagues uses LinkedIn specifically to get an endless stream of face-to-face meetings. What he does is he sends a message out he goes to LinkedIn and he looks up people who could be his potential clients and located in New York City. And he looks them up and sends them a quick message on LinkedIn that says, I see we're both on LinkedIn and we're in New York, let's have coffee. And so people respond and say, sure, let's have coffee, and he sets it up. At the time they meet, he doesn't know if they're a potential client or a referral source or someone, a networking contact who could simply keep their eyes and ears open. In any case, they've met. And so if they're going to be a client, they're likely to because they've now met in person. And what he does is he sends about 5 of these messages a day, which means that every week, almost every day, he has several meetings for coffee. And that is advancing his business. Howard actually, before the meeting today, was asking me some questions. And one of them is, who do you connect with? And what do you do if you've connected to too many people? And should you connect to everybody who invites you? What you want to think about is your networking philosophy. There are 2 philosophies. One is a quality networking philosophy. That's the one where you know everyone in your network, or they've come from a referral or a trusted source. I'm active, for example, in Meng, which is Marketing Executives Networking Group, and I accept invitations from anyone from Meng because I know the group and I know the people who are in it. I do get other invitations from people that I don't know. What I recommend is, first of all, look at their profile and see if it makes sense in any way to connect. And even if it does make sense, I always send a message that says, I'm intrigued by your invitation. How did you find me, and how do you see us networking together? Some people never respond. I do not accept their invitation. I want people who are active and generous and caring. They're going to respond when I ask for something or refer someone to them. Other people have sent very long, thoughtful reasons why they want to connect, and I have connected with them. And what it's meant is I'm connected to some really good people now that I would have missed or I never would have connected with otherwise. Now yes. This is one of the things LinkedIn has made easier now. I send the message before I decide to connect. I always look at the profile first. And then now LinkedIn has a way, which I'll show you in a few minutes, you can send a message to someone before you accept their invitation. So it's just, I'm in the process of deciding whether to connect with them or not when I send this message. The other philosophy is a quantity philosophy. And there's no right or wrong answer here. It's really your own preferences and what's going to work best for your business and your goals. A quantity network means they want everybody in the universe to be in the network. Everybody. That's fine if it fits you. It serves recruiters very well, and it also serves a lot of other people well. Recruiters, for example, are looking for candidates to fill positions, so they want a base of a lot of people. What you want to do is think a minute now, what's your philosophy? And this philosophy works both for your in-person networking as well as on LinkedIn. I know some people really want to keep a tight network and others want have the quantity philosophy. What are you thinking right now? What's your philosophy, Howard? It's kind of mixed. You were saying earlier that there are some. It may need some cleaning out, or you may want to take a look and see if you want to keep everybody who's currently in your network. Well, I spoke at another entrepreneurs group, and the person there heard me and came up afterwards, and he said, "Oh, when I first started with LinkedIn, I wanted everybody in the world, so I invited everybody I knew and all these other people." And he said, "Now that you talk about the quality network, I've changed my mind. What do I do?" The good news is you can remove someone from your network and they're not notified. So if you do go through, now I know what some other people are doing is they're looking at their network to see if any of their competitors are in their network and they're removing them. So you can go into your network. It's where you go into your address book. It's called Contacts. And there's a little word that says remove. You simply click there and then click next to their name and they're removed. They're not notified. Now, could they possibly find out? Yes. If they took the time to go to LinkedIn and look up your name, they would no longer see that small box that says first, which means you're directly connected. I don't know anyone who has enough time to do that. So yes, you can change your mind. Let's talk, yes, sure.
Well, you can go in and look and see who's been trying to...
Oh, good idea.
You can go in and look and see who's trying to contact you, correct?
Yes. Yes. What you're talking about, what he said about, you're talking about who's viewed your profile. That's not quite the same thing as invitations, but yes, you can go into LinkedIn and see who's been looking at your profile. I'll get into that in just a little bit. Yes, Howard.
You talked about not wanting to have your competitors connected.
Oh, yeah.
You talked about not wanting to have your competitors as connections. I've done it a little differently because many of my competitors were connected to me, so I avoided connecting to my customers.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good philosophy also. With LinkedIn, there are many, many, many possibilities, and one of the best things you can do is focus it and the way you use it to what works for you. There's no one right or wrong answer. I do want to talk about your profile because it's so critical. Think of it as your handshake. If you're in a meeting today, you're meeting someone new or is seeing someone else that you've known already, you shake hands, perhaps you exchange cards if you haven't met before, and you talk a little bit about your business. Maybe it's your elevator speech, probably more a conversational way of what your business is and what you do. That's what your profile is. It's not meant to be your resume. There is a part of it that looks like your resume because it gives the company name and the title you had and your accomplishments or what you did for the company. Another part of your profile called the summary section is where you want to tell your story in terms of what someone looking at it will understand what you can do for them. So think it's just the initial thing. And it's also not meant to be your life story. I've seen some profiles that are really, really, really long. No one has time now. They don't want to read and they don't want to think. You've got to show in a couple or three short paragraphs what you can do for somebody else. They're going there to look for companies like yours to decide whether to work with you or someone else. So number one job is to tell them what you can do for them and why your company is the best one to bring in. There are some things to not put on your profile also. It's a public document. We don't really know who's going to look at our profile. So you don't want to put confidential or proprietary numbers. You probably don't want those anyway. But if you've been in sales, for example, sales management, in affecting a company, increasing their revenue, you want to use things like increased significantly, not X% or market share or something like that. You want to be general enough that you're not giving proprietary or confidential information about. At the same time, you also want to show the scale, the scope and scale of where you've worked. Because it's one thing to bring in X million of dollars and work with a billion-dollar company, and it's another to work with thousands or hundreds of thousands. So that's where significant, something like that can be good. It's also, you don't want anything on there that you don't want the world to know. It's not exactly like the internet because when you change your profile again, it's no longer, your new profile is what people find when they go to Google. But just realize it's a public document. Okay, here's what your profile looks like. I want to point out, first of all, at the very top, there's a gray menu bar. That's with you no matter what you're doing on LinkedIn. It starts with the LinkedIn home page, and you have a place here for your profile. And here's where you find your address book of your contacts and groups. And then your inbox is here. And your inbox shows messages that people sent and also invitations that you've received. So on your profile, right down below here, is your photograph and your name and your professional headline, which is right below your name. I will also point out, you'll many times see these blue boxes now. I recommend skip them. LinkedIn now, one of the changes they're making is they want to get every single bit of information they possibly can about us and our backgrounds, etc., because everyone's starting to use the information. Right here, I will say LinkedIn is very different from Facebook and the other sites in a number of ways. Part of the terms of services of LinkedIn is we cannot gather contact information and send mass blasts out to people. Also, it's against them and against the whole spirit of LinkedIn to do the hard sell, to be pushy. In the same way you'd go to a networking meeting like here, you don't go up to someone and say, hello, how are you? I'm Jan Wallen, I have some widgets, you want to buy some? LinkedIn is the same way. It's about building relationships. So if you see things like this, if it's really important and relevant to what you're doing, answer it. What they're going to do is put that in the in your profile. But many times you can skip it. Now, you all have pens and the handouts ready? Make a note. They're asking you more and more, do you want to search your email for contacts who might be on LinkedIn? I recommend you do not do this. You used to do it at the very beginning when you join, so if someone joins now, that still is the case. My preference is to invite the people I want to invite. Yes, it's a one-by-one thing, and it may take you a little longer, but if you do a few a day, you'll get. I have people who send me emails who I don't want in my network. So again, it has to do partly with your networking philosophy. But if you see a message like that, look really hard. You'll see a tiny box that says skip. Just check on skip. So why is your professional headline so important? When someone searches for you, and I'll show you what happens in a minute, all they see is your photo, your name, geographic area, and your headline. Really powerful thing about LinkedIn is you can go in and look for your decision makers. For example, one of my clients is a sales trainer, and he wants to talk to sales vice presidents in healthcare in New York City. Another one wants CEOs of information technology companies in one zip code. You can search LinkedIn for that and find exactly who you're looking for. I did a search recently on the sales vice presidents of information technology companies in New York. What you'll often see is a job title here. So if you're looking up CEOs and everyone says CEO, 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 there's no reason to click on any one profile over another. So with yours, rather than putting a job title or owner and your business name, put something catchy like a headline or a tagline. Maybe you've developed one already. Maybe there's something from your website. Put something interesting here that grabs their attention. When they're looking for you like this, they're scanning hundreds, if not thousands, of profiles. No one's going to read all those profiles. They're scanning to see two things, a photo and your headline. Many people I've talked to, whether they're in companies, business owners, recruiters, executive search people, everyone I've talked to said if they see a profile in a list without a photo, they skip it. Absolutely. So put a photo. You want one that's professional. LinkedIn is a business and professional social networking site. It doesn't have to be taken by a professional photographer, though it can. What you really want is to show your head and shoulders enough that people can see your eyes and the expression on your face. Don't have a vacation background, or another one I saw recently had sighting of his house. That's not professional. Now, people have also asked, what do I do about wearing a suit? I don't wear a suit to work every day. Do I put a picture on LinkedIn that has a suit? Remember, this is the first impression someone's getting of you. You only have one chance. to make that first impression. My recommendation is usually wear a suit, even if you don't wear it all the time for work, because they're looking at you for the first time and you want to give them the best impression. Okay, so below here, below your headline, is a snapshot of your profile. Okay, here's some examples. Let me just back up. Here's some examples of headlines or taglines. One PR firm says PR and publicity that tells your story. That's much better than PR or PR and publicity. Any number of companies could just say that. So their special thing is tells your story. I've talked to a number of financial advisors over the years. Many times I heard, oh, I put a financial plan together for people. Well, most people, their eyes glaze over and say, well, so what? Or I don't need that. And then one I talked to said, I help business owners retire 2 to 3 years earlier than they thought they could. Wow, what a difference. So if you haven't developed a tagline or a headline, think of it. In fact, you might get together with each other sometime to help do that. Sometimes it's hard to figure out these things for ourselves. But that's what you want to put in the professional headline of your profile. So then down below, your photograph would be up here, and then down below, this is a very important part. And this should be on your handout. It's a link that LinkedIn gives you where people can click on it and go directly to your profile. You want to, first of all, when they give it to you, it looks like computer ease with lots of jumble of letters and numbers at the end. There's a way to change it so that it has your name at the end. What you want to do then is put it in your email signature. You know, you have your name, regards, warm regards, best regards, and then your name, your phone number, your company, all that information. Put the word LinkedIn, and then copy this link. What that means is someone will see your LinkedIn profile every time they see your email. They can click on it, go right to your profile. An interesting thing happened to me one day. I was giving a presentation, and I sent out some emails to someone, and at the bottom I had that link. And I got an email back a few hours later saying, oh, I saw your posting, and then I looked down to see your email signature, and I saw your LinkedIn profile. So I clicked there, and I went to your profile. We have a lot in common, and we know a lot of the same people. Let's connect. Well, this was someone in Hungary. I never would have known about him otherwise, simply by putting this in my email signature. So you want this on everything you send out. Good idea also if you do one-pagers or marketing materials, put your LinkedIn profile link also. I have written an article on how to personalize it so that it has your name at the end. So if you do want that, I'll put the email address up, or if you can send me an email at jan@linkedinworks to get that article. Okay, the most important part almost of your profile is the summary section. This is where you tell your story. There's a length limit, though it's about 2 or 3 paragraphs. One possible way to start out, this can be uncomfortable to write for yourself also because we're too close to what we do. One way to start it out is if you have a mini case study. For example, to describe, when our clients come to us, they're looking for this, this, and this, or they have challenges in this area and this area. We do an assessment, we work with them, we think through what they need, and then after we work together, they're able to do this and this and this. Basically, you're saying, they have a challenge, we worked together, and we solved it. Again, it's got to be really something people can relate to. People ask me all the time, write it in third person or first person. It's much better in first person, rather than John Smith got his education at XYZ University, and then he went on to do this and this and this. This brings up something else about the summary section. You don't want a long chronological list here of every company you've worked with and all your accomplishments. That doesn't help somebody decide whether to work with you. What's happened, this has changed in the marketplace in the last 18 months. It used to be we could do that, and they would say, oh, well, if he's done this, they must be able to do that. What you want instead is what you can do for them. How are you valuable? How are they going to be different after they work with you? So again, it's usually about 3 paragraphs. Then there's another section down here called Specialties. Make a note of this one also. The Specialties section is designed for keywords. These are similar to keywords in your website. This is how people find you. So if they're looking for a sales trainer who's worked with healthcare companies, they go to LinkedIn and type in keywords, sales trainer, healthcare. And your profile would come up if those keywords are in this Specialties section. A lot of people put a sentence or a phrase like specializes in the area of solving X. You want to put one word after the other or 2 words that go together with a comma in between. If you're in IT, for example, like Cheryl, you probably want to put things like the certifications you have because someone who's looking for you would look for that. Same thing in real estate. It wouldn't necessarily be important for everybody. So put on the hat of someone who's going to look for you. Let's say your best client. What are they going to type into LinkedIn to find you, and put those words where it says specialties. Okay, you can also use LinkedIn for business intelligence to find out what's going on and who's who. Talked to someone recently who uses it for a 50,000-foot level view of their industry. Who's in what company? Who of their competitors has moved to another company? Why would they have made that move? What would that? So they really keep track of what's going on there. And also, a main thing about LinkedIn is you're taking the sales conversation offline. You don't connect with someone and send a message and say, do you want to buy what I have? It's more, let's meet for coffee. Or you don't even have to connect with someone to communicate with them. Let me just go back a minute. Okay, up here, when you look up someone's profile, what comes up is that you'll see the name and photo and headline. Over here, it will show you actions that you can take. Sometimes, if you're not connected already, the yellow button will say connect. It might also say send a message. Or it might say ask Joe for more information. All you have to do is click on where it says send a message, and it gives you the box to put a subject line and type your message. So here's where you'll see a lot of these actions. We've talked a little bit about invitations and what to do if you get an invitation that from someone you don't know. Contact them before you decide to accept. You can send a message if you don't know them, and I always send a message after accepting someone's invitation, and I say something like, thank you for your invitation, I accept. I'd love to talk to you sometime about your business and how I can keep my eyes and ears open to refer people to you. It really makes a difference. Again, what people are looking for is the personalization. We've had the internet and do everything online for years now. It's a habit. In fact, we count on it. But what they're realizing is missing is the personal part. If you haven't yet built your network, you want to do that. If you've been in business for a while, and especially if you're in or doing sales, or you have salespeople, you want to have a good number of connections, because people will look at your profile, and if you only have 25 connections, they'll think you're not good at what you do. It's not true, but that's people's perception. So you may be the primary person in your company to use LinkedIn, you might not. Either way, get a lot of connections yourself so that when someone looks you up, they'll see that you have a lot of connections. It's one of these funny things. Many times when I've talked to people who use LinkedIn a lot, they say if someone who's in an outreach position, like a business owner or a salesperson, if they don't have at least 100 connections, they don't take them seriously. So if you're not to that place yet, simply start every day and add a few. It doesn't take that much time. Okay, here's the place where you can send a message before you decide to accept their invitation. This section is my inbox, and it shows you both messages and invitations. So the blue button says accept, and if you click on the arrow next to it, it will say send a message, and you just simply send your message. This reminds me also to tell you, you'll get emails in your regular email that say, John Smith wants to connect on LinkedIn, or Susan Brown wants to connect on LinkedIn. And it gives you the button where you can connect. I recommend going to LinkedIn to do that rather than clicking on the email. There was a problem once, which seems to have been corrected, but my preference still is to go to LinkedIn to accept. There were messages sent out quite some many months ago by this time that were phishing messages. And so go to LinkedIn itself to accept. In terms of time saving, I do it about once or twice a week and spend a few minutes. The whole point of my book is what you can do in 15 minutes. You don't have to be on the computer all day or all the time or even a long time. If you just go in every day, 15 minutes. So rather than accepting a message when it comes in, that's also an interruption, and so you're not going to be as productive. Simply do it once a week. How many of you are in groups on LinkedIn? Good. Do you have any idea how many groups you've joined? How many, Cheryl?
7.
About 7, okay. Anybody else? How many groups have, less?
I'm in about 6 or 7.
6 or 7, okay. We can join up to 50 groups on LinkedIn. That's all well and good. It's way too many to be productive and effective. Look at the groups. What you do is you go up here where it says groups, look there, and there's a groups directory, and you can look up which groups are the most relevant for yours. Go to the group, see what the discussions are like. Some groups are better than others. LinkedIn has done some things over the last several months to make changes to the groups. What happened at first was there were a lot of people posting notices that they were looking for a job, and others were posting notices that was self-promotion. So what LinkedIn has done now is they have a separate tab for the self-promotion. Some of the discussions still are self-serving and not really in-depth or not really that helpful. So if you join one group, take a look at the discussion. If it doesn't seem relevant or that it's going to be helpful to you, move on to something else. I'm not saying you have to leave the group. Just simply pick another group and focus on it for a while. And actually, I believe, was it you, Howard, was mentioning about people from groups, who to connect with? Same thing has happened to me, and it may have to you too. We'll get an invitation that says, we belong to the same group, let's connect. Well, okay, if we're in the same group, we at least have some sort of interest in common. Does that necessarily mean you want to connect with them? Not necessarily. What I do is the same thing. I take a look at their profile, and then I send them a message that asks them, how do you see this working? What do you usually do, Howard?
Also, I'll look at their profile. I may
Yeah.
then accept and then send a message.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, good. Okay, let me show you how you can find people. That's just simply looking up their name. Another really valuable part is looking up companies. And then you can do the advanced searches like I was saying, CEOs of information technology companies in one zip code. Here's where you start the searches. Over here where it says people, that's where you type in someone's name. Most of you have done that. Over here it says advanced. And you click on the word advanced and you'll get a place to put in CEO healthcare, sales vice president information technology, whoever you're looking for. You can be very specific. In fact, you want to be specific of who your best client is. You put it in right here, and then you can put a postal code. You do have a choice here to put things like industries. You can click the industry choices here. What I find is, well, obviously, every industry in the world isn't listed there. And sometimes it's not as specific as what I'm looking for. Also, this is one of the areas where LinkedIn is changing. You have more options here if you have the premium program. So what I find the fastest and easiest is simply put in keywords, the job title or the job function, and an industry or whatever else you're looking for. And what comes up is a search results list. This is where you'll see a list, a row of photographs and names and professional headlines. This is why it's so important to put your headline as a tagline, so it sets you apart. Here, there were 5,600 some results. Again, it's way too, this was vice presidents in information technology, way too many to look at. Here you can save a search. So if you have clients similar to this, for example, and you want to do this search periodically, you can save it, so you just don't have to type it in each time. The best thing about that is LinkedIn will send you an email that says, if you've saved a search, that says 43 more people like this have joined LinkedIn lately. Well, what this is giving you leads at your fingertips all the time.
So Jan, can you develop your mailing list and contact list using this feature?
What you do in LinkedIn is you invite people to connect and you build your network. What's against LinkedIn's terms of service is to blast people with it. At the same time, what you can do is send a message to 50 people at a time. So you go to your inbox and there's a way to compose a message. And it will tell you, and then it shows you your address book, so you simply click on next to the names of the people you want to send. But it's not like a mailing list in a way, because that's against what they let us do, and against their spirit of what they're doing. Yes?
Well, then how does the group platform work?
Okay.
Isn't that a form
The
of blast? You know, you said it's a discussion.
Right, they're discussions, yes. The group, it used to be that any group member could contact any other group member or everybody. They can't do that anymore. Only the group manager can contact everybody in the group. The discussion is where you look at someone's question or thought or whatever they've started for their discussion, and then people comment on that. So if someone asks a question, here's a situation that's come up for me, how do I handle it, or how have you handled it? And then someone else says, well, here's what we did. So it becomes a series of comments related to that theme.
Does that
But
question go out to everybody in the group?
anybody who goes to the group sees the question. And the group sends out what's called I can't think of the word. They send a digest of all the new discussions, and you'll get that in your email. So what that is a link. There may be 5, there may be 8 each week. Those are the new discussions that have happened. So if you see a discussion in that email that looks good, you can go to the group and look at people's comments. But it's not sending a message out. And the comments per se don't go out either. It's just a notice, this has happened new in LinkedIn. Okay, premium programs. I get a lot of questions about this. The way you find, the best thing to do is look at the comparison chart. So go to settings. If you look way in the top right, you'll see your name. Hover your mouse over that and you'll see the word settings. Click there and you'll see this screen with the yellow button that says upgrade in the middle. Click on the yellow button. Don't worry, it doesn't upgrade you. It simply shows you the comparison chart. So it says the free basic program gives you ABC. The first level gives you A, B, C, D, E. The next level gives you A, B, C, D, E, F. So always go here and see exactly what the differences are. It doesn't make sense to sign up if it won't give you value. Many people can be on the free program for a long time. Some of the differences are, and this is one of the areas that LinkedIn is changing a lot over the last 3 months or so. if you do a search, let's say for, like my client who's a sales trainer, for sales vice presidents of information technology firms, if you have the free program, you'll get a list of 300 people. If you have the premium program, one of them, you'll get 700. If you have another premium program, you'll get even more. Well, if you get a list of 300 and you start working from that list, contacting them, maybe 300 is enough for now, and 700 won't really help you. So that's a decision point. So just go to where it compares each thing and then decide if it really makes sense for you. Another area, someone was asking about who's viewed your profile. If you have the free basic program, you'll be able to see a few people who have viewed your profile. This is on the home page, and it will say you've shown up in searches X number of times in the past week, and so number of people have viewed your profile in the last 3 days or the last week. You can click there and you'll see who's viewed it. Now, what good does that do? It's interesting, for one thing, to see who's viewing your profile. Is it people you want to be in touch with? Are they potential clients? Are they finding out about you and then looking at your profile? Are they your current clients? What happens many times now is anytime you meet with someone, introduce yourself and exchange business cards, they go right back to the office and look you up on LinkedIn. So that would show up. When you see who's viewed your profile, you won't always see Susan Brown from XYZ company or John Smith. You might see someone's name like that and their title. You might also see executive from the entertainment industry has viewed your profile. That's because that person has chosen to show that. You might also see anonymous, and it's because that person has decided they don't want anybody to know their name. And for the upgrade program, you'll see about 3 of them if you have the free basic program. Actually, you'll see more now, but they keep changing it. And then if you have the premium program, you'll see more, and if you have a higher level, you'll see even more, and you'll see more detail. I would just make a note and check that out. I find, and some people have asked me, is there an etiquette to, if you look at who's viewed your profile, should you contact them? What do you do? I look at them and see. Some of it makes sense. Okay, someone contacted me about giving a workshop at their company. Well, that makes sense that they looked me up. Or in some cases, I wrote an article and it went out and someone saw that. Sometimes I don't know why they were looking, in which case I contact them, and many times I pick up the phone. It seems as though people think, oh, LinkedIn, we got to be on the computer all the time. No, best thing sometimes is to simply pick up the phone and say something like, I noticed on LinkedIn that you were looking at my profile. I'd love to talk for a few minutes. I do want to have you think about this a minute. You'll be way ahead, not only with LinkedIn, but everything, if you ask yourself every week, what's the one thing that'll make the most difference to your business this week? And focus on it all week. That's both in-person meetings, at your office, on LinkedIn, everything. And then think about what your next 3 steps are going to be. What would you say are your top 3 next steps? Howard. Yes, you are.
One of the next steps is to modify the keywords in my LinkedIn profile.
Good. Excellent. Sure, I would too.
Review my profile.
Wonderful. I've written more articles on that too, and you can, I'll show you, let me just get this right here while we're here. Here's the website where you can request the articles. It's linkedinworks.com/book-articles. And yes, Cheryl.
I'm going to change my title.
Oh, great. Okay.
And I'm going to start doing searches and look for people locally.
Oh, good.
To start meeting with.
Excellent.
I'm also going to change my title, the headline. I'm going to take a new picture,
Good.
go through my business cards and invite some people.
Wonderful.
Maybe think about upgrading my profile.
Oh, good.
So,
Excellent.
a couple of things.
Okay.
Well, I'm totally new to LinkedIn. I barely signed up a few weeks ago, so this is very good for me. I'm going to go and actually dig into it more.
Great.
I really had no clue as to exactly what it was capable of doing.
Good. Okay. Excellent.
Yeah, similar, create a headline,
Good.
add a photo, which I don't have right now. So I appreciate all that you've told us today.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I do invite you also to connect on LinkedIn. And I think we have some time for questions, do we not, Les? Sure. Great. Yes.
If I'm out on Google searching for somebody, I'm not signed into my LinkedIn profile. Will that person that I'm looking for and that I'm looking at his or her profile, will that person see that I was looking for him?
That's a good question. If you're searching on Google, no. You must be in LinkedIn searching for people in order for it to say who's viewed your profile. So if you simply go to Google, people's profiles come up now, but they won't see your name.
The profile comes up or just a link to the profile?
Many times the profile comes up now.
But there's also a way to block it.
Yes. Yeah.
So it will not show on the right side of the profile who has viewed your profile. It will not
No,
show
if you
somebody
search it with
from
Google, it doesn't.
Greater New York areas. No.
No, in fact, if you search, let's say for CEO, what example did you just give me? CEOs of information technology company, for
Anybody,
example?
yeah.
Okay, if you do that, it's not going to show who's viewed your profile simply because you did the list. It will, if you click on someone's name, let's say you're looking down and you see Susan Brown and you want to see her. If you click there and look at her profile, then it shows Susan that you viewed her profile. Simply doing the list doesn't. You may, you use LinkedIn a fair amount? It sounds like both of you?
So, I mean,
Okay. I'd suggest you take a look at the settings. I don't suggest that everybody does, but if I would take a look at the settings and see what you may be able, that might work. Yes?
There are people who've gotten in lots of trouble for exaggerating things on their resumes. Are there any cases or stories about people exaggerating or even lying on their LinkedIn profiles and what's happened?
This is it's a good question, actually. Yeah. I don't know specific stories. What I do know is that there is more opportunity for that given someone is entering their own whatever they want on their LinkedIn profile. You can, there is something also with LinkedIn where you can upload your resume. The way you may see that, it may tell you in a blue box or it may tell you up near the top of your profile to upload your resume. That will not necessarily complete your profile, and you may or may not want to do that. I don't really recommend that. And I also recommend keeping your resume separate. With LinkedIn, anybody can put anything they want in their profile, so there's opportunity. I haven't heard of, I certainly wouldn't recommend it. Yes, Cheryl.
We're lumped in with the New York metro area.
Yes.
Kind of different. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're linked in with the New York metro area. It makes
That's
it
right.
kind of difficult to source more local talent and connections.
Yes.
So I just put in, Kingston's zip code, and I'm pulling up all of Manhattan.
Right.
Which is great, but I really want to build,
Exactly.
a little closer to home. I know it's the fantasy.
Yes.
How do I do that? Is there a way to work around that?
There are
on
a couple
LinkedIn?
of things. So you said you put in the Kingston zip code, and people from New York City come up. One thing I would suggest is that you contact customer service and suggest that they put Hudson Valley or something. Yeah, you put that. With all technology, as I know you know too, they don't always do it. But the more people who send something about it, the better. You'll find that the geographic areas aren't ideal, and neither are the industries. They classify you into an industry, and you'll see greater metro area and then whatever industry you're in. Well, it may not be exactly the industry that you're in. That's LinkedIn's list. So I'd put in a request, but other than that, there really isn't. Yes?
So we might try just searching by the name of the city.
Yeah.
Kingston, Poughkeepsie.
But as you may know, we have so many people who have addresses that are like, Tivoli or, they might
Right.
Another.
be significant, but they have, you have to put in every single one of these towns.
Another possibility is when you put that zip code in, there's a way to put within 100 miles, 50 miles. So even if you get that down to.
It starts with 50.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Let me see if I can.
Yeah.
Oh, no, there is a 10.
Yeah.
They default to 50.
Good.
This has been great.
Okay,
Jan,
good.
Thanks a million.
Certainly. Thank you. If I,
As I mentioned,
that's okay.
as I mentioned, we'd like to have Jan back on a regular basis because the interfacing with social media, for some of us, is our business. It's not just a part of it, it is our business. Those of us without office, the social networks are critical. There are lots of questions I have, and we'd like to continue this series and get a little more advanced every time we go. Next month, with Jan's permission, we'd like to do more. And next time we do this, I invite you to bring your laptops. Bring your computers. Let's play with it.
What we may be able to do is set something up like this. I'm not sure that the meeting would be the best place for it, but we can set something up
and
for
make
it.
this happen.
Yeah.
If anybody wants one-on-one coaching or would like to know more, there's the address. This is the person. I suggest we do this because, one question that I had was, if you want to attract people on social media, can you send a message out to LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and some of the others from one command? Is that something that's possible?
Yes, yes it is.
So that's time saving, that's dollar saving, and getting a consistent message out. Those are things that I'm interested in. So I'd like to learn more.
Okay, wonderful.
Great.
Yep.
Jan,
And
thank
again,
you so
I do
much.
suggest you connect with me on LinkedIn. I do also give complimentary webinars. I'd be glad to talk to you, and I'll be glad to autograph your books too.
There are books
Yes,
for sale back here. By the
someone
way,
else.
shameless promotion. We have Jan's book back here for sale. We'd love if everyone would buy one or be interested. Floyd.
One question.
Les, first, something's wrong with the mic.
That's
Okay, first of all, I want to tell you, we live in such a complex world, and this could easily get out of hand. But being the president and CEO of corporations, it's really nice to listen to an expert like you, because what you've done is given us the end result. So it's a really time saver. And the second thing is a compliment. Again, every time I come, I go to the next level of compliments for Les, but here's the highest level so far. Les, we all had a chance to go do something else today, but I feel that what you do here is much better than the Chamber of Commerce networking events because it's the skills, the tools you need, and I think that people, this group and others, cannot afford to not come to these meetings.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Excellent.
Well, with that, we'll end on a high note. Thank you very much for coming. We're going to have a great presentation next month. Please put it on your calendar. I don't even know the date, but it'll be up on. Now, one thing that we're going to do is Sarah will be sending out a constant contact notice, excuse me, that this presentation is going to be posted on our YouTube channel starting this afternoon. So if you missed anything or want to review, it'll be on YouTube. So thank you all for coming and have a productive day. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm losing my voice there.
Yeah, this was
Thanks,
great.
Jan.
Sure.